That night, amid raucous laughter and the stench of spilled beer on hardwood, my son called me a freeloader right in front of his friends. I didn't argue. I just poured more cleaner on a beer stain, then quietly opened my banking app to check a trust fund account he never knew existed. The next morning, I scheduled appointments with my lawyer, my broker, and set the date to sign away the house he was living in. It was time he learned a mother is not a doormat. My name is Margaret Lawson Maggie, to those who still bother with civility and at 58. I've scrubbed enough floors to know the difference between a stain and a permanent mark. That Sunday night in October, standing in the kitchen of the low-high townhouse I'd bought with my dead husband's insurance money, I was about to learn which one my son had become. The Broncos were losing. Again. Tyler's friends sprawled across my Italian leather sectional, the one I'd saved 3 years for their craft beer bottles, leaving rings on the reclaimed wood coffee table. The smell hit me first, hops and testosterone, mixed with whatever overpriced cologne Tyler's girlfriend Sloane had gifted his entire crew last Christmas. The pendant lights I'd installed myself cast shadows across their faces, all lit blue from the 70-inch screen Tyler claimed he'd bought, but I knew came from my Costco card. "Mum, grab us another round." Tyler didn't look up. 31 years old, regional sales manager at some tech startup that sold promises more than products, and he still couldn't say please. I moved toward the Sub-Zero another purchase on my credit when Derek, Tyler's college roommate, knocked over his IPA. The amber liquid spread across my floors like spilled honey. "Shit. Sorry, Mrs. L," Derek slurred. "It's fine." I reached for the paper towels. "Jesus. Mom, use the good ones from under the sink. Don't be so cheap." Tyler's voice cut through the game noise. "I swear. Derek. She hoards paper towels like we're still living in that shithole apartment on Federal." The room shifted. Sloane, perched on Tyler's lap in her Lululemon and highlights, laughed first that practiced tinkle she'd perfected at her sorority. The others followed. "Don't embarrass him, Mrs. Lawson," Sloane cooed, her manicured hand stroking Tyler's neck. "He's just stressed about the Patterson acquisition." I knelt on my kitchen floor, pressing Bounty into beer, and Tyler kept going. "You know what she did last week? Brought expired coupons to King Soopers. Expired. Held up the whole fucking line arguing over 50 cents off yogurt." He took a pull from his bottle. "At least wait till I'm not around to pull your poverty moves." "Mom?" "Tyler." Sloane's voice held fake concern. "Be nice. I'm just saying, this is my house. My friends. She could try not being such a fucking freeloader for once." The paper towel turned brown in my hand. Brett laughed. Connor checked his phone. Marcus had the decency to look uncomfortable. "I mean, look at her." Tyler gestured with his bottle. "Friday night, and she's dressed like she's about to pull a graveyard shift at the warehouse. Which, honestly, isn't far off from..." I did pull graveyard shifts. I stood, wet towel in hand. 11 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. 4 nights a week at Blue Prairie Freight so you could play lacrosse at Cherry Creek High. The room went quiet, except for the commentators. "That's ancient history. Mum." "Is it?" Tyler's jaw tightened the way it did when he was 6, and I wouldn't buy him the Nintendo all his friends had. But he wasn't 6 anymore. He was a grown man, sitting in a house he didn't own, insulting the woman who'd made his entire life possible. "You know what? Yeah, it is." He stood, Sloane sliding off his lap. This is exactly why I don't have you around when the real friends come over, the ones from the office. Because you're—" He waved his hand, searching for the word. "An embarrassment," I supplied. "Finally, you get it." Sloane touched his arm. "Baby?" "No. She needs to hear this. I'm tired of pretending. Tired of making excuses. Jim's parents have a place in Aspen. Brett's mom runs a gallery in Cherry Creek. And mine clips coupons and wears the same Walmart jeans she bought in 2015. I looked at each face in that room. These boys' men now, supposedly who'd eaten my Christmas dinners, slept off hangovers on my couch, called me for bail money that one time Tyler pretended never happened. Not one met my eyes. "You're right," I said, wringing the towel into the sink. "These are the same jeans." Tyler smirked, vindicated. I dried my hands slowly, deliberately. "Anything else you'd like your friends to know about your freeloader mother? Just—" He collapsed back onto the couch. "Just stay in your room or something when people are over. Is that too much to ask?" The LED lights hummed. The game played on. Sloane whispered something in Tyler's ear that made him chuckle. Derek had found new beer. I walked to my bedroom, the mother-in-law suite Tyler generously let me occupy, and closed the door. Through the walls, I heard them laughing, heard Tyler doing what I recognized now as his impression of me. "Oh, Tyler, honey, let me pack your lunch. Tyler, sweetie, don't forget your vitamins." More laughter. I sat on my bed and opened my phone. The banking app required my thumbprint. The account labeled Willow Creek Trust showed a balance that would make Tyler's startup friends take notice. Below it, the property deed app I'd downloaded months ago. Waiting. Last time. I thought. This was the last time my son would mistake kindness for weakness, sacrifice for servitude, a mother's love for a doormat. The Broncos lost by 3. People assume weakness when they see a woman on her knees scrubbing their messes. They never consider she might be calculating the exact price of their disrespect. I wasn't always invisible. 23 years ago, I was the night shift coordinator at Blue Prairie Freight, managing 47 employees and a $2 million inventory system I'd designed myself on Excel because corporate wouldn't spring for proper software. My supervisor, Carl, used to joke that I could track a paperclip from dock to delivery. He wasn't wrong. Richard found that attractive, my precision. He called it. We married in a courthouse on my lunch break. Honeymooned in Estes Park for exactly 2 days, because that's all the PTO I had saved. When Tyler came along 9 months later, Richard said we'd build something solid, something that would last. The cancer took Richard when Tyler was 8. Pancreatic. 4 months from diagnosis to a box of ashes I keep in a ceramic urn Tyler once used as a base for his beer pong trophy. The life insurance paid out $380,000. Richard's pension from the railroad added another $90,000. His brother in Houston, the one Tyler conveniently forgets, sent $40,000 in guilt money for missing the funeral. I had options. I could have moved to a suburb with good schools, bought new clothes, taken vacations like the other Cherry Creek mothers. Instead, I kept working nights, kept driving my 2003 Honda Civic, kept shopping sales, because I had a plan. While Tyler played lacrosse and dated cheerleaders and crashed 2 cars I paid to fix, I was feeding money into the Willow Creek Trust that Raul Mendez had helped me establish. Raul, immigration lawyer by day, estate planning genius by necessity, understood survival in ways Tyler's friends never would. Make it ironclad, I'd told him over coffee at the Guatemalan bakery on 32nd. I want to own everything, but look like I own nothing. The trust bought the low-high townhouse in 2018, just before the neighborhood exploded. 850,000 in cash, no mortgage, no liens, no complications. The deed listed Willow Creek Trust as the owner, me as the sole trustee. Tyler's name appeared nowhere. Miho's going to live here, Raoul had asked, reviewing the papers. $1 a month rent, month-to-month lease. Teach him responsibility. Raoul's expression said he doubted Tyler would learn anything, but he drew up the papers anyway. Tyler signed them without reading, too excited about the exposed brick and rooftop deck to notice the terms. For 5 years. I paid everything. Property taxes $18,000 annually. HOA fees $450 monthly. Insurance, utilities, maintenance all from my accounts, while Tyler bragged about his investment, his equity, his smart buy in an up-and-coming neighborhood. I kept every receipt, every bank statement, every email where Tyler promised to start contributing next month, or after the bonus, or when things settle down. I have a folder labeled Evidence that would make a forensic accountant weep with joy. The breaking point wasn't Sunday's humiliation. That was just the final grain of rice that tipped the scale. It was 6 months ago when Tyler brought Sloane to dinner and she asked about my little job at the warehouse. I retired 3 years ago, I'd said. I consult now. Tyler had laughed. She helps people organize their garages, calls it consulting. In fact, I'd built a $30,000 a year side business helping small freight companies optimize their workflows. But Tyler preferred his version where Mom puttered around playing with label makers. It was 3 months ago when I overheard him on the phone with someone from his company. No, the house is mine. My mom just crashes here sometimes. Kind of a sad situation, actually. It was last month when he told Sloane's parents at dinner that he'd been carrying me since Dad died. That I'd never really recovered financially or emotionally. Sloane's mother, a real estate agent with veneered teeth and a Birkin bag, had patted my hand. It's so wonderful Tyler takes care of you. I'd smiled and nodded while calculating property values in my head. The townhouse was now worth $1.4 million. The development plans for the light rail extension would push it to 1.7 within a year. Tyler's friends kept talking about the equity he was sitting on, the fortune he'd make when he sold. He'd already spent it in his mind. A place in Cherry Creek. A Tesla. A ring for Sloane that would photograph well on Instagram. Sunday night, after the beer dried and the laughter died and Tyler passed out with Sloane in the master bedroom he'd claimed, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and started composing emails. To Raoul, initiate eviction proceedings. To Harper Quinn, the realtor who'd sold me the building's penthouse unit off-market. I have another property to move. Quietly. To my accountant, prepare documentation for a major asset transfer. To the Hope Harbor Foundation, where I'd volunteered teaching job skills to single mothers. I may have a property opportunity for you. Tyler thought he knew who I was. The woman who packed lunches and clipped coupons and embarrassed him in front of his friends. He had no idea who I'd become in the shadows of his disregard. The woman with perfect credit, documented ownership, and 23 years of practice in making things disappear from inventory without anyone noticing until it was far too late. Monday morning, 6:45 a.m. Tyler's alarm hadn't gone off yet. Sloane's Audi wasn't in the driveway she'd slipped out around 5:30 for her reformer Pilates class. I sat in my kitchen with black coffee and 3 manila folders spread across the granite counter like tarot cards revealing someone's future. Folder 1. The trust documents. Every page highlighted, tabbed, annotated in my careful handwriting. The key phrase circled in red: trustee maintains absolute discretion in all matters of property disposal. Folder 2. The lease agreement Tyler had signed. Month-to-month tenancy. 30 days notice required for termination. His signature bold and careless at the bottom, probably signed between Instagram stories. Folder 3. 5 years of receipts. Property taxes, insurance, HOA fees. Maintenance costs $173,000 I'd paid while Tyler played entrepreneur with other people's money. Harper Quinn answered on the second ring. Maggie, still enjoying that penthouse view. I have another property to move. Quietly, quickly, cash buyers only. Harper didn't miss a beat. She dealt in divorce sales, estate liquidations, and what she called delicate transitions. No signs in the yard, no public listings, no trace until the deal was done. Timeline. 14 days maximum. That's aggressive. Price point. 1.4. But I'll take 1.3 for the right buyer, right terms. I heard her typing. The low-high market's hot. I might have someone. There's a tech executive from California. All cash. Looking for investment properties. Also, she paused. Hope Harbor Foundation called me last week. They're looking for transitional housing. Their grant just came through. My coffee had gone cold. Hope Harbor would be poetic. I'll make some calls. Can you do a showing Wednesday discreet? Of course. Tyler works 10 to 7. Sloan has spin class at noon. Perfect. Next call, Raul Mendez. Margaret. Buenos dias. How's the trust treating you? Time to execute the exit clause. Raul. Silence. Then, the nuclear option. Surgical strike. Everything by the book. I want the eviction notice properly served, publicly if necessary. That's cold. Even for you. Last night he called me a freeloader in front of his friends. Ah. Raoul's voice hardened. He'd been disrespected by enough privileged children to recognize the breaking point. I'll have the papers drawn up by tomorrow. Service by Wednesday. You want the sheriff or private process server? Private. But make sure they serve him somewhere memorable. His office. Sunday, during his football party. Raoul chuckled. You've thought this through. I've had 5 years to think it through. After we hung up, I pulled up my laptop and began cataloguing everything in the house. The 70-inch TV Tyler claimed he'd bought I had the Best Buy receipt in my name. The Italian leather sectional purchased with my Amex. The Sub-Zero, the Wolf range, the wine fridge stocked with bottles he described as investments, all mine. I created a spreadsheet, items to be removed from property, not out of spite, out of accuracy. Tyler wanted to pretend he'd built this life himself. I'd simply help him start from scratch. By noon, I'd scheduled the movers, arranged for a storage unit in my name only, and confirmed the installation of new locks for the day after closing. Everything timed to the minute, like tracking inventory from dock to delivery. Tuesday arrived with September rain. Tyler left for work, complaining about the weather. Sloan trailing behind in yoga pants and a Canada Goose jacket, heading to, literally, the most important brand strategy meeting. The inspection team arrived at 10:15 sharp. I walked them through every room, pointing out the recent updates I'd paid for new HVAC, replumbed bathrooms, reinforced deck. They photographed everything while I provided receipts and warranties. Your son's not here, the lead inspector asked, noting the master bedroom's bachelor pad aesthetic. My tenant couldn't take time off work. His eyebrows rose, but he said nothing. In Lohi, stranger arrangements existed. Harper arrived at 1 p.m. with the photographer. They worked in silence, staging each shot to emphasize space and light. The mountains visible from the rooftop deck, the walkability score, the potential for immediate rental income. I've got 3 interested parties, Harper whispered, while the photographer captured the kitchen. Hope Harbor's board meets Thursday. They're very motivated. Good. I want this done before he realizes what's happening. Honey, by the time he realizes, you'll be holding the check. Wednesday morning. I woke to Tyler arguing with Sloane about her spending $300 on a juice cleanse. The irony wasn't lost on me. The man living rent-free in a $1 million house was lecturing someone about financial responsibility. I made breakfast for them both. Eggs Benedict with fresh hollandaise, Tyler's favorite. He ate without looking up from his phone, occasionally showing Sloane some video that made them both laugh. Thanks for breakfast, Mrs. L. Sloane managed between bites. Tyler said nothing. I cleared their plates, ran the dishwasher, and texted Harper, "He's all yours." The staging team arrived with furniture and art that transformed the space into something from Architectural Digest. They worked around Tyler's belongings like archaeologists preserving worthless artifacts. By 6 p.m., everything was back to normal. Tyler never noticed the fresh flowers in the entry or the new towels in the guest bath. He never questioned why the house smelled like vanilla and cedar instead of beer and cologne. He never suspected that his home had been packaged, priced, and offered to the highest bidder while he sat in his office pretending to close deals. That night, he ordered Thai food and left the containers on the coffee table. "Mum, can you grab these? I'm in the middle of something." I collected the trash, wiped the table, and returned to my room to review the offer Harper had just sent. Hope Harbor 1.35 million, all cash, close in 10 days, no contingencies. I typed back, accepted. Thursday, 4:30 a.m. I stood in the dark kitchen, watching the city lights below flicker like distant fires. Tyler wouldn't wake for another 3 hours. Sloane had stayed at her Cherry Creek condo, something about needing space to manifest. The staging team would arrive at 9. The secret showing for Hope Harbor's board was scheduled for noon. Everything had to move like clockwork, like inventory on a perfectly timed conveyor belt. I opened my laptop and reviewed the operational checklist I'd created. 9 a.m. Staging team enters through garage, Tyler at work. 11:45 a.m. Harper arrives with Hope Harbor board, 12:15 p.m. Full walkthrough. 1 p.m. Clear out, restore Tyler's mess. 2 p.m. Receive written offer. 4 p.m. Accept and sign. 5 p.m. Begin closing documentation. The key was the garage code. Tyler had given it to half of Denver, his barber, his weed dealer. The DoorDash drivers, he was too lazy to meet at the door. One more service team wouldn't register. My phone buzzed. Harper, small hiccup. Hope Harbor wants to see it furnished, but also empty to assess true space. Can we do both? I typed back, give me an hour. In the basement storage room, Tyler had forgotten existed. I had something beautiful detailed photos of every room from our move-in day. Empty, clean, full of possibility. I uploaded them to a digital folder, then created a split-screen presentation, furnished versus empty, staged versus reality. Brilliant, Harper replied. You think like a general? I think like a warehouse manager. Everything has its place and time. At 8:50, Tyler left, complaining about traffic and a client meeting he hadn't prepared for. I watched his Tesla pull away, then disabled the Ring doorbell camera, technical difficulties I'd report later if asked. The staging team moved with surgical precision. They swapped Tyler's movie posters for abstract art, his gaming chair for a sleek reading nook, his beer fridge for a wine display. They worked around his belongings like surgeons avoiding vital organs, touching nothing personal while transforming everything else. Your son has interesting taste, the lead stager said diplomatically, eyeing Tyler's collection of superhero figurines. My tenant collects them. She nodded, making notes. We'll work around them. Adds character. Shows the space can accommodate various lifestyles. By 11:30, the townhouse looked like a spread from Dwell magazine. Clean lines, natural light. The mountains framed perfectly through every window. Even Tyler's Xbox looked intentional, like a lifestyle choice rather than arrested development. Harper arrived with 3 Hope Harbor board members, an older black woman in a pristine suit, a young Latino man with kind eyes, and a middle-aged white woman wearing expensive boots and exhaustion. Margaret, this is Dr. Patricia Williams, Carlos Mendoza, and Jennifer Walsh. Dr. Williams shook my hand firmly. We understand you're looking for a quick, clean sale. I'm looking for the right sale. She smiled. Let's see if this is it. I walked them through each room, narrating not what was, but what could be. The mother-in-law suite could house a program coordinator. The main floor's open concept works for group sessions. 4 bedrooms upstairs each could shelter a family transitioning from crisis to stability. Carlos stopped in the kitchen. The current tenant, he's aware of the sale. He'll be properly notified per Colorado law. Jennifer studied me. This is personal for you. I met her gaze. I volunteered with Hope Harbor for 3 years. I taught job skills to women starting over. Some of them lived in their cars with their kids, showering at the rec center, trying to look presentable for interviews. This house could change lives. And your son, Dr. Williams asked carefully. My tenant will find appropriate housing elsewhere. They exchanged glances. We all knew what I wasn't saying. In Tyler's room, the master suite he'd claimed without asking Jennifer noticed the photographs on his dresser. Him with Sloane at some gala. Him with his bros in Aspen. Him alone, posing with his Tesla. No family photos, she observed. No, I agreed. We finished the tour on the rooftop deck. Denver spread below us, the mountains rising behind, the whole city laid out like a promise. We'll take it, Dr. Williams said. Full asking, close as soon as possible. Harper nearly dropped her folder. Don't you need to discuss? We discussed it on the drive over. The grant requires we move quickly. This is perfect location, condition, price. She turned to me. You're sure about this? I thought about Tyler's laughter Sunday night, the way his friends had looked at me like I was furniture, the years of pretending gratitude while paying for everything. I've never been more sure of anything. They left at 12:45. The staging team returned everything to its original chaos by 1:30. Tyler's dirty socks back on the floor, his empty Red Bull cans on the counter, his life undisturbed, unaware it was already sold. Harper texted at 3 p.m. Offer officially submitted. 1.35 million. Cash. 10-day close. No inspection contingency. They're accepting your report. Title work starts tomorrow. I sat in my room that afternoon, listening to Tyler come home early, boasting on the phone about some deal that would change everything. He had no idea. That evening, he ordered pizza, left the boxes stacked by the door, and asked if I could do something about the smell from the garbage he hadn't taken out. Of course, I said, tying up the bag. I'll take care of it. He didn't hear the promise in those words, the precision, the finality. Friday morning. The title company emailed the preliminary paperwork. I signed as trustee of the Willow Creek Trust, my hand steady, my signature bold. Each initial was a small victory, each page a step toward freedom. Tyler spent the weekend planning a trip to Vegas with his boys, charging flights to a credit card I'd co-signed years ago. Sloane posted Instagram stories from a healing retreat in Sedona. Neither of them noticed the locksmith's estimate in my email. Neither saw the moving company contract on my desk. Neither questioned why I was boxing up my few personal items in the mother-in-law suite, labeling everything with the kind of detailed inventory system that had once made me indispensable at Blue Prairie Freight. Sunday arrived with Broncos blue skies and the promise of another football party. Tyler's friends would gather. The beer would flow. And somewhere between the kickoff and the final whistle, a process server would knock on the door with papers that would transform his house into what it always was mine to give, mine to take, mine to sell to someone who'd actually deserve it. Saturday night. Tyler threw a pre-game party. His core squad arrived around 8 p.m. with bottles of Japanese whiskey and stories about their latest conquests deals, women, cars. It all blended into the same boastful noise. I stayed in my room, door closed, listening to them through the walls. Tyler's voice carried the loudest, fueled by alcohol and an audience. "You guys should have seen this listing Derek sent me," he was saying. "Cherry Creek North, 3.2 mil. That's where I'll be in 2 years. Max. Flip this place. Clear $500,000 profit easy." "Bro, this neighborhood's insane now," Marcus added. "You bought at the perfect time." "Right. My mum thought I was crazy. Wanted me to stay in some suburban shitbox. Thank God I didn't listen to her." They laughed. Ice clinked in glasses. Sloane's voice cut through. "Speaking of your mum, where is she? It's weird how she just lurks around." "Probably clipping coupons in her room," Tyler said. "I swear she's getting worse. Found her digging through the neighbors' recycling for bottle deposits last week." That was a lie. I'd been helping Mrs. Patterson next door carry her recycling to the curb because she'd just had hip surgery. Tyler had driven past without stopping, windows up, music blasting. "That's honestly sad," Sloane continued. "Like, doesn't she have friends, a life? She had one friend from that warehouse job, but even she got tired of the whole victim complex thing." Another lie. Carmen and I had lunch every Tuesday. We'd been planning a trip to Phoenix to visit her daughter's new baby. "You should set boundaries," Sloane advised, her voice taking on the authority of someone who'd listened to too many self-help podcasts. "My therapist says enabling isn't love." "Already am," Tyler boasted. "Told her last week she needs to start looking for her own place. Can't have her here when I propose." The room erupted. Congratulations. Backslapping. The pop of champagne Veuve Clicquot from the case I'd bought for my 60th birthday that Tyler had claimed for his wine investment. "About fucking time," Brett shouted. Ring picked out. Derek asked. 2-carat cushion cut. Tiffany. Putting the deposit down once the Patterson deal closes? Sloane squealed. The sound pierced through drywall like a drill. They kept drinking, kept planning, kept spending money that didn't exist on futures they'd never have. Tyler described the wedding Aspen, obviously. The honeymoon Maldives. Maybe Bora Bora. The house they'd buy Cherry Creek North. Walking distance to Whole Foods and SoulCycle. But first, he announced, I need to evict the tenant. They all laughed, not knowing he meant me. Around 11:30 p.m., the party moved to the rooftop deck. I emerged from my room to survey the damage. Empty bottles everywhere. Whiskey spilled on the coffee table, soaking into the wood. Someone had vomited in the powder room and attempted to clean it with my good hand towels. I documented everything with my phone. Photos, timestamps, evidence. Then I saw Tyler's laptop, open on the kitchen counter, logged into his email. He'd been showing off some contract, left it up in his arrogance. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. The Patterson deal he'd been bragging about it was a junior sales position. Base salary $60,000 with potential commissions. He'd been fired from his current job 2 weeks ago. The emails were all there, warnings about expense account fraud, client complaints, a final termination letter he'd never mentioned. He'd been unemployed for 2 weeks, pretending to leave for work, sitting in coffee shops or bars, coming home at 7 to maintain the illusion. I looked deeper. Credit card statements routed to his email. $47,000 in debt across 6 cards. A personal loan for the Tesla, 3 months behind. His checking account had $412. The ring he'd promised Sloane. The wedding in Aspen. The house in Cherry Creek. All of it was fantasy, built on credit and lies, and the assumption that this house would save him. I heard them coming back down, voices loud and slurred. I closed the laptop, returned to my room, and sat in the dark with this new knowledge. Tyler wasn't just ungrateful. He was drowning, and he'd been counting on my house, my investment, my sacrifice as his life raft. He'd already spent the money in his mind, already leveraged a future that was never his. Sunday morning arrived grey and humid. I made breakfast French toast, bacon, fresh squeezed orange juice. Tyler emerged around 10 a.m., hungover and surly. Coffee, he groaned. I poured him a cup, black, just how he liked it. Friends coming at noon, he mumbled. Clean up the deck, would you? It's a mess up there. Of course. Sloane appeared in one of Tyler's jerseys, hair artfully messy, scrolling through her phone. Babe, the Bentley dealership is having a private event next week. We should go. Definitely. Tyler agreed, as if he could afford a Bentley keychain, much less the car. They settled onto the couch, Tyler pulling up the pre-game shows, Sloane editing photos from last night to post later, can't look too eager. She explained to no one. By noon, the usual crowd had assembled. More beer, more bravado, more plans for money that didn't exist. Tyler was describing his investment strategy when the doorbell rang. Mum, get that, he called without looking up. I opened the door to a young woman in a blazer, holding a manila envelope. Tyler Lawson. He's in the living room. She walked past me with purpose. The room fell silent as she approached Tyler. Tyler Lawson. Yeah. He sat up, confused. You've been served. She handed him the envelope, took a photo of him holding it, and left. The silence stretched. Tyler opened the envelope, his face cycling through confusion, disbelief, and finally, Rage. What the fuck is this? What's wrong? Babe? Sloane peered over his shoulder. Eviction notice. 30 days. He stood, papers shaking in his hand. This is insane. This is my house. Actually, I said from the doorway, it's not. Every head turned to me. What are you talking about? Tyler's voice cracked. You pay $1 a month in rent. You're a tenant. And as of today, you have 30 days to vacate. You can't do this. I can. I have. And I did. Derek whistled low. Marcus pulled out his phone, probably checking legal sites. Brett just stared. But I live here. Tyler sputtered. For now. Sloane grabbed the papers, reading frantically. This says the property's been sold. That's impossible. Tyler would have to sign. No. I interrupted. Tyler would have to own it first. The room erupted. Tyler's face went from red to purple, veins bulging in his neck like rope. Sloane dropped her phone. Brett and Marcus exchanged looks that said they were calculating their distance to the door. You fucking bitch! Tyler lunged forward, but Derek caught his arm. Whoa, man. Calm down. Calm down. She's stealing my house, my equity, my future. He whirled on me. You can't sell this place. I'll sue you. I'll fucking bury you in court. With what money? The words came out ice cold. The $47,000 you owe, Visa. The Tesla payment you're 3 months behind on. Or maybe the salary from the job you were fired from 2 weeks ago. The room went silent. Sloane's mouth fell open. You went through my stuff. You left your laptop open, right next to the whiskey you spilled on my coffee table. Babe. Sloane's voice was small. You were fired. Tyler ignored her, his focus laser sharp on me. This is illegal. Elder abuse. I'll call the cops. Please do. I pulled out my phone. I'll show them the trust documents, the lease you signed, the receipts for 5 years of payments I made while you played pretend millionaire. Mum? Please. His voice cracked, shifting from rage to desperation. We can work this out. Just cancel the sale. I'll start paying rent. Real rent. With what, your $412 in checking? Sloane stood, grabbing her purse. You told me you were getting promoted. You said the Patterson deal was worth $2 million. Babe, I can explain. You said we were buying in Cherry Creek. You said... She stopped, her influencer composure cracking. Oh my God. The ring? There's no ring? Is there... Tyler reached for her. Sloane. Baby. Just let me... She slapped his hand away. I'm done. So fucking done. She looked at me. I'm sorry about... all of it. She left, her heels clicking against the hardwood like a countdown. Derek cleared his throat. We should go. Don't you dare. Tyler snarled. You're my boys. You have my back. Bro, Marcus said quietly. You lied about owning the house. I never said I owned it. You literally said it every day. Brett countered. My house, my investment, my equity. They filed out one by one, avoiding eye contact, mumbling about having somewhere to be. Tyler stood in his living room. My living room surrounded by empty bottles and shattered pretense. Why? He whispered. Why would you do this to me? You did this to yourself. I'm your son. Yes. And I'm the freeloader you're embarrassed by. The poverty case you mock to your friends. The burden you can't wait to dump. I didn't mean. You meant every word. And now you get to live them. He sank onto the couch, head in his hands. For a moment, he looked 8 years old again, crying because some kid at school had called him poor. I'd held him then, promised him things would get better, that we'd build something good together. But he wasn't 8 anymore. The house sold for how much? His voice was muffled. 1.35 million. His head snapped up. And you're keeping all of it? It was never yours to keep. I could have turned it around. Given me 6 months, I would have figured it out. Tyler, you've had 5 years, rent-free, expense-free. And what did you do? Accumulated debt, lost your job, and lied to everyone, including yourself. So you're just going to make me homeless. You have 30 days to find a place. That's more than most people get. Where am I supposed to go? There are plenty of apartments in Denver. You might have to leave Lohi, maybe even downtown. But Aurora has reasonable rents. Lakewood, too. Aurora. He said it like I'd suggested Mars. I can't live in Aurora. What would people think? What people? Your friends who just walked out Sloan, who just dumped you, or the colleagues from the job you don't have. He stood, pacing. This is insane. Parents don't do this to their children. Children don't call their mothers freeloaders. It was a joke. No, it wasn't. It was the truth as you see it. And now you get to live that truth without my subsidies. What about Dad? He'd be disgusted by what you're doing. That stung, but I'd prepared for it. Your father worked 16-hour shifts to give us a chance. He'd be disgusted by what you've become. Tyler's phone buzzed. A text from Sloan. Your stuff will be outside my building. Don't contact me. He laughed, bitter and broken. Perfect. Just perfect. The closing is in 10 days, I said. The locks change the day after. Anything left behind goes to donation. Where are you going to live? Some retirement home. I bought a condo, cash, 2 bedrooms in Washington Park, garden level, southern exposure, walking distance to everything I need. You already bought something. 6 months ago. The betrayal in his eyes was almost funny, as if I'd been the one lying, the one taking, the one treating family like staff. I'll fight this, he said. I'll find a lawyer. Raul Mendez already ran this past 3 real estate attorneys. It's airtight. You're a month-to-month tenant who's been properly notified. Fight all you want. You'll just add legal bills to your debt. He pulled out his phone, scrolling frantically. There has to be something. Tenant rights, squatters' rights. Something. Colorado requires 60 days for elderly eviction protection. I'm 58. You've been given 30 days notice for a month-to-month lease. Everything is legal, documented, and filed. You planned this. For 6 months. You're evil. I'm tired. Tyler. Tired of enabling you. Tired of being disrespected. Tired of paying for the privilege of being insulted in my own home. It's not your home. I pulled out my phone and showed him the deed. Willow Creek Trust. Established 2018. Sole trustee Margaret Lawson. You were never on it. You never will be. He stared at the screen like it might change if he looked hard enough. Get out, he said quietly. Excuse me. Get out of my house. You have no right to be here if I'm the tenant. I smiled. Actually, as the property owner, I have every right to be here. But you're right. You're still the tenant. For 29 more days. I walked to my room, closed the door, and listened to him destroying things. The crash of glass, the thud of furniture. The primal scream of a man realizing his mother was never the doormat he'd wiped his feet on. My phone buzzed. Harper. Closing scheduled for Thursday at 2 p.m. Everything is on track. I texted back. Perfect. Through the walls, I heard Tyler on the phone, begging someone, probably his fired boss, for another chance. His voice cracked with tears. For a moment. Just a moment. My heart twisted. Then I remembered Sunday. The laughter. The mockery. The words, fucking freeloader, spoken so easily about the woman who'd given everything. The heart hardened back to stone. Tuesday. 2:15 p.m. Marigold and Ash coffee shop on 17th Street. I'd chosen it deliberately neutral ground, public enough to prevent a scene, far from Low-High, where Tyler's humiliation still echoed. I arrived early, ordered a black coffee, and sat facing the door. The place smelled like sourdough and expensive espresso. Young professionals typed on MacBooks, having the kinds of meetings Tyler used to pretend he attended. He walked in at 2:37, unwashed hair, yesterday's clothes, the Tesla key fob still dangling from his fingers like a prop he couldn't abandon. His eyes were bloodshot. He'd been crying or drinking. Probably both. He collapsed into the chair across from me, and for the first time in years, I saw Richard's face in his, not the arrogance Tyler had cultivated, but the vulnerability Richard showed during chemo, when the morphine wasn't enough. Mum. I waited. I can't lose this house. It's already sold. Then unsell it. Tell them you changed your mind. I'll do anything. What would you do, Tyler? He leaned forward, desperate. I'll get a job, a real job. I'll pay rent market rate. I'll apologize to your book club, your friends, whoever you want. I'll go to therapy. I'll... Stop. I pulled out a manila folder, thick with 5 years of documentation. Do you know what this is? More legal shit. Receipts. I opened it, spreading papers across the small table. January 2019. Property tax, $4,612. February 2019. HOA special assessment, $8,000. March 2019. New water heater after yours burst during your Vegas trip, $3,800. I kept laying them out. A paper trail of my silent subsidies. August 2019. Roof repair after the hailstorm, $12,000. December 2019. Your DUI lawyer, $5,000. March 2020. The Tesla down payment you supposedly made yourself, $15,000. Tyler stared at the papers like they were written in a foreign language. September 2020. That investment course that was really a gambling debt, $8,000. January 2021. Sloane's birthday trip to Cabo, you couldn't actually afford, $6,000. April 2021. Emergency room visit. No insurance, because you forgot to pay the premiums, $11,000. Why are you doing this? June 2022. Bail money for Derek when you all got arrested in Vail, $4,000. October 2022. Paying off your Amex before they sued, $9,000. February 2023. The engagement ring deposit you put down and lost, $3,000. That ring was for Jessica. Before Sloane. You never told Sloane about Jessica. Did you? His face went pale. December 2023. Rehab for your cocaine problem, $32,000. You said you'd never mention that. You said you'd never use again. But the credit card statements show different. $800 at Proof nightclub last month. Those aren't bottle service prices. Tyler. I pulled out the final document. Total subsidies over 5 years, $327,000, not including the house, not including groceries, utilities, or the 1,000 other ways I made your life possible. So this is about money. No, it's about value. You valued me at 0. Negative. Actually. A burden. An embarrassment. A freeloader. I was drunk. I was showing off. You were honest, finally. He grabbed the papers, crumpling them. These don't matter. You're my mother. You're supposed to, what support you forever enable your lies. Pretend I don't see what you've become. What I've become, I'm trying to make something of myself. No, you're performing success while accumulating failure. There's a difference. A barista called out a complicated latte order. Normal life continued around our small apocalypse. Dad would hate you for this, Tyler said. Your father once told me something when you were 2. We were broke, choosing between formula and rent. He said, we'll sacrifice everything to give him chances, but we can't give him character. That. He has to build himself. So you're building my character by making me homeless. I'm stopping the collapse I've been enabling. You're 31. Tyler. When I was 31, I had a 7-year-old, a dying husband, and a night shift that started at 11 p.m. You have a college degree I paid for, a clean record I paid for, and a complete inability to see anyone's sacrifice but your own. You think you sacrificed for me. I laughed sharp, bitter. I know I did. Well, I didn't ask for it. No, you just took it, then mocked me for having nothing left. He stood, pacing beside the table. Other customers glanced over, sensing drama. Sit down, I said quietly. He sat. The buyers are a non-profit. They'll use the house for women escaping domestic violence, women starting over with nothing, women who were called freeloaders by men who never understood the weight of survival. So you're making a statement I'm the bad guy in your feminist revenge story. You're not important enough to be the villain, Tyler. You're just another man who confused provision with weakness. I'm your son. Yes. And that's why this hurts. Because I loved you more than you ever bothered to notice. He started crying then. Not the dramatic tears of manipulation, but the ugly, snotty tears of real loss. Mum, please. I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. I believe you're sorry. Sorry you're losing the house. Sorry Sloane left. Sorry your friends saw the truth. But are you sorry for how you treated me, or just sorry there are consequences? He wiped his face with his sleeve. Both. All of it. Everything. I pulled out a business card. Carmen's son runs a property management company. He has a 1-bedroom in Wheat Ridge. $600 a month. It's clean. Safe. Near the light rail. Wheat Ridge. It's that or your car. Your choice. He took the card with shaking fingers. You really planned everything. I learned from 23 years of warehouse logistics. Always have an exit strategy. What about my stuff? Whatever fits in a 1-bedroom is yours. The rest goes to Goodwill. The furniture, the TV. All mine. Check the receipts. He stood to leave, then turned back. What if I change? Really change? Would you ever forgive me? Forgiveness isn't the question. The question is whether you'll change because it's right, or because you want something from me. What's the difference? If you have to ask, you're not ready to know. He walked out without another word. Through the window, I watched him sit in his Tesla for 10 minutes before driving away. The car would be repossessed within the month. He'd blame me for that too. I finished my coffee and opened my phone. Harper had sent the closing documents. Hope Harbour had sent a thank you note with photos of the families who'd benefit. Raoul had confirmed the lock change for Friday at noon. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned. No reconciliation, no tearful embraces, no promises of better tomorrows. Just the clean, sharp cut of boundaries finally drawn. The barista wiped down the table next to mine, humming something cheerful. Outside, Denver went about its Tuesday afternoon joggers, dog walkers, people living lives they'd built or destroyed themselves. I left a $10 tip and walked out into the bright October sun. Tomorrow was Wednesday, 2 days until closing, 3 days until the locks changed, 30 days until Tyler learned what every warehouse worker already knows: you can't inventory what you never really had. Thursday, 2 p.m., the closing at First National Title Company on 17th Street. I signed my name 23 times, each signature a small liberation. The Hope Harbour representatives smiled and shook my hand. The check was wired to my account before I reached my car. Friday, noon exactly. The locksmith arrived with military precision. Tyler was at the Wheat Ridge apartment Carmen's son had helped him secure, probably unpacking the 3 boxes and 2 suitcases that contained his actual possessions. Everything else, the Italian leather sectional, the 70-inch TV, the wolf range he'd never learned to use, stayed with the house. I stood on the sidewalk as the locksmith worked. Mrs. Patterson from next door watched from her window, probably wondering about the drama. The October sun was sharp and clean, making everything look like a real estate photograph. New locks clicked into place. The locksmith handed me 5 sets of keys. "All set, ma'am. These are high-security cores. Can't be duplicated without authorization." I gave him 1 key back. "Please deliver this to Hope Harbour Foundation. They're the new owners." He nodded and left. I stood there for a moment longer, looking at the house that had been my prison and Tyler's castle. The Brazilian walnut door Tyler had insisted on. The designer numbers he'd picked because they looked rich. The security camera he'd installed to watch for packages, but never for his mother coming home from work. A Tesla, not Tyler's. His had been repossessed. Wednesday pulled up. A young couple got out, pointing at the house, clearly interested. They'd be disappointed to learn it was already sold. I drove to my condo in Washington Park. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. A small garden where I'd already planted tomatoes for next spring. The furniture from my mother-in-law's suite looked perfect here. The reading chair Richard had bought me for our 10th anniversary. The desk where I'd studied for my logistics certification. The bed where I'd cried myself to sleep after particularly cruel nights. Sunday arrived with unexpected peace. No football party, no beer stains, no laughter at my expense. I made French toast for myself, using real vanilla and bread from the bakery I could finally afford to visit. My phone buzzed. Tyler. The pipes burst in this shithole apartment. Everything's flooded. I didn't respond. Another text. "Can I stay with you for a few days?" Still nothing from me. "Mum, please, I'm drowning here." I typed back. "Call your insurance, document everything, contact the landlord immediately." That's it. That's all you have to say. I turned off my phone. Monday morning, I received an email from Dr. Williams at Hope Harbour. 3 families had already moved in. A mother of 2 fleeing an abusive marriage in the mother-in-law suite. A widow with teenage daughters on the 2nd floor. A grandmother raising her grandkids in what had been Tyler's master bedroom. She attached a photo. Children playing on the rooftop deck. the mountains behind them like a promise. The same view Tyler had Instagrammed 100 times, now belonging to kids who'd lived in their car 2 weeks ago. The front door, that Brazilian walnut status symbol, had a welcome sign made from construction paper and crayons. Tuesday marked 2 weeks since the eviction notice. Tyler had called 43 times, left 12 voicemails, sent 97 texts. They evolved from anger to bargaining to depression to more anger. I saved them all. Not from sentiment, but from habit. Document everything. Inventory all transactions. Carmen and I met for lunch at our usual place, the Vietnamese restaurant on Federal that Tyler said embarrassed him. "How's he doing?" she asked. "Surviving. And you?" "Free." She raised her bowl of pho. "To freedom. To boundaries." We ate in comfortable silence. Two women who'd learned to find luxury in small things. 3 weeks later, Tyler sent a final email. "Mum, I got a job at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, assistant manager trainee, 42,000 a year. The apartment's been fixed. I'm seeing a therapist that Medicaid covers. I know you won't respond. I know I burned everything down. I just wanted you to know I'm not asking for anything. Not money, not forgiveness, not the relationship we had. Sloane's engaged to some hedge fund guy. They're moving to New York. My friends, the guys I thought were my brothers, they don't return my calls. You were right about everything except one thing. I did notice your sacrifices. I just thought they made you weak instead of what they really made you stronger than I'll ever be. I drive past the house sometimes, saw kids playing in the yard, heard their mum thank them for helping with dishes. Made me realize I never once thanked you. Not once in 31 years. So thank you. For all of it. Even this. Tyler. I read it twice, then filed it in a folder labeled Complete. Friday. Exactly 30 days after the eviction notice. I stood in my garden planting bulbs for spring. Tulips and daffodils. The kind Richard had loved. My hands in the dirt. The October sun warm on my back. The sound of children playing somewhere nearby. My phone rang. Tyler. I let it go to voicemail. "Mum, it's me. I know you won't answer. Today's the day. Right 30 days. The locks are changed. The house is gone. Everything's final. I keep thinking about that Sunday night. How I laughed when you were on your knees cleaning up my mess. How my friends laughed. How Sloane laughed. Now I'm the one on my knees, trying to clean up the mess I made of my life, and nobody's laughing anymore. Not even me. Especially not me." A pause. "I love you. Mum? I know it doesn't matter now, but I wanted to say it, in case I never get another chance." The message ended. I looked at my dirty hands, at the bulbs that would bloom in 6 months, at the small plot of earth that was entirely mine. Then I went inside, washed my hands, and made myself dinner in my own kitchen, where no one would ever call me a freeloader again. The door to my condo locked with a simple click. No Brazilian walnut, no status, just security, just mine. Thank you all for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. Please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts about Margaret's decision. What would you have done in her situation?